Assalamu alaikum. There we go. Is Ali still here or is he gone? I'm just going to stand here for a second and feel the love.
Love you, Susan.
Thank you, darling. I love you too. When I came to the UAE 18 years ago, I lived in Abu Dhabi. Now, I think you probably know Abu Dhabi. It's that little emirate on the end of Sheikh Zayed Road. Maybe you've even been there before. And one of the small pleasures that I had when I first came here was to watch the sailing dhows coming into the harbor in the late afternoon, and it brought me great joy. And as I was preparing this talk, that same vision of those racing dhows, those sailing dhows, kept coming in my mind, and I didn't know why. I think it's somehow connected to Hans, now that I think of it. I didn't know he was going to also talk about sailing. But it occurred to me then, as I kept having the vision of these sailboats, that there was a reason behind this talk. And the reason is up here on the slide in Arabic. Now, haram, I have not learned Arabic in all those years that I've been here, so I need your help. All of you who speak Arabic and can read Arabic, on the count of 3, please read in Arabic what it says at the top of the slide. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. And the translation would be, we're all in the same boat. I'm a feminist, and that means I see the world often through the lens of gender, through the filter of gender. And what I've discovered through that filter over the years is that we're all in the same boat. All races, all religions, all nationalities, and most importantly, both genders are in the same boat. And that's what I want to talk about today. Unfortunately, in that boat, that human race boat that we're in right now, we're facing a lot of stormy seas. We've got political problems. We've got economic problems. We've got environmental issues. We've got all kinds of societal strife. And as we're sailing in these stormy seas, in this big boat of humanity, we've also got a lot of imbalance. We've got haves and have-nots. We've got rich. We've got poor. We've got people who are more able-bodied and people who are not. And we have an imbalance with respect to gender as well. So again, I'm going to focus on that. And by the time I'm finished my talk, I hope that all of you will shift your perspective a little bit with respect to the role that we play as men and women in the world today. So I want to talk about, by the way, before I want to make one thing crystal clear. My brand of feminism has nothing to do with male bashing. I like men. In fact, I love men. I was married to one for 20 years, and it was awesome.
And then what happened?
Yeah, well, you know, it didn't work out in the end, but that's okay. So I have nothing against men. I have nothing against men. That's not what this is about. This is about creating a world in which both women and men contribute equally in a meaningful way so that we can sail that boat forward through these stormy seas. I want to talk about 4 things. What this gender imbalance looks like when we're in the world today, what it looks like, what the root cause of it is, how the results that are coming from that, how we can shift it, and I'll take hopefully only 18 minutes to do all of that. So when I'm looking out at you, the audience, this is what I see. I see, well, Abdullah's over there. He's not actually out there, but that's him and Ragda. I see an audience that is mostly, you know, it's balanced. It's balanced. We've got about 50% men and 50% women. Now, in my view, that balance should be reflected in our institutions, in our government, in our education system, in our media, in our entertainment. We should see that 50% balance. It's about 50. Some people say it's 51-49, but you know, give or take a percentage or two. So what does it actually look like? Well, It doesn't look like this at all. This is what the world governments look like. We have 193 countries in the world, and only 13 of them are led by women. 7%. It's not enough. Now, we all know this guy. He's looking familiar. This woman up here in the 7% slot, I was so glad when Ali talked about gorillas, because this woman was recently sworn in as the president of Brazil in January this year, 2011. And in fact, she used to be a guerrilla fighter. What a coincidence. Not one of those hairy gorillas, one of the fighters that Ali was talking about. So that's governments. What about media? Well, the world media, they're a little better in terms of the balance, but 75% men? Maybe you've seen this guy. This guy's on Hard Talk. His name is Tim Sebastian. And this woman you're probably familiar with. Her name is Christiane Amanpour. But think about when you open the newspaper in the morning, or when you go online and you read, you're taking a look at who's making the news. Well, who is making the news? Mostly men are making the news. And what are the stories about? The stories are about, guess who? Mostly men. We've got some imbalance. Even when we look at the TED stages around the world, 75% of the speakers are men. Only 25% are women. There's an imbalance there. Now, this guy's awesome. This guy's name is Hans Rosling. If you're wanting to know how to do visual aids, this is your man. He's the king of visual aids. Watch his TED Talks. This woman is Jacqueline Novogratz, and she's started a fund called the TEDxAjman Fund that is absolutely awesome, helping people around the world develop entrepreneurial businesses, and mostly in poor countries. Fantastic. Okay, so we've got all this imbalance. What is the cause? Basically, when it comes down to it, it's that we all undervalue women. Men undervalue women, and women ourselves undervalue ourselves. It's a bit of an issue. So I brought along a couple of experts to speak to this point in particular. This fellow, Tony Porter, is an educator and an activist and a male feminist. Yes, there are some. And he spoke at TED Women in DC in December, and this is what he had to say.
So I grew up in New York City, between Harlem and the Bronx. Growing up as a boy, we was taught that men had to be tough, had to be strong, had to be courageous, dominating, no pain, no emotions, with the exception of anger and definitely no fear. That men are in charge, which means women are not. That men lead, and you should just follow and just do what we say. That men are superior, women are inferior. That men are strong, women are weak. That women are of less value, property of men, and objects.